It is so fun to have one of my BFFs on today, Seychelle Van Poel. And for all of you regulars, welcome back to our Wednesday webinar. And for all of you guys who are joining us for the first time, welcome. My name's Via Williams. I'm with the Ben Kinney Companies, and I have my beautiful co-host today, Seychelle Van Poel.
Hello.
And today's topic, Seychelle, I think this is a really sexy topic, and I know you think it's a sexy topic. I don't think others think it's a really sexy topic, though. It's on data, right?
I'm gonna challenge everyone that's not feeling that way today. That my goal is by the end of today, you're gonna feel that way, and you're gonna be like, "Data is so sexy." That's what you're gonna.
Hey, can you guys hear Seychelle? Okay, does she sound okay to you? Because she sounds super quiet to me, so it might be my end. Let me see. Oh, okay. It's just me. No worries. All right. Well, perfect. So it sounds like we are loud and clear, Seychelle. So welcome. Before we dive into our topic today, I just wanted to go over a few things. What in the world is a Wednesday webinar? Well, a Wednesday webinar is something that we put on with the Ben Kinney Companies. It's every single Wednesday unless I go on vacation, which happens from time to time. And even then, sometimes I do them. It's every Wednesday for an hour from noon to 1 Pacific time, which for all of us math challenge people, that's 2 to 3 p.m. CST, and that's 3 to 4 p.m. EST. And what we do is this is completely designed to be highly tactical for real estate agents. We take one topic and we spend a whole hour on it. So some of our most popular Wednesday webinars over the last month or two have been Sarita Dua doing her How to Do Multiple Offers. She submitted 7 offers a few weeks ago and won all 7, right? And so she kind of walked through exactly how she does that. The other really popular one we just had was we had a panel of 3 of the top buyer's agents on in the nation, and they walked us through how they do their buyer consult, and it was incredible. So those are our 2 highest views so far. We've had Sue Adler, Mike Perna come on and talk about how they've gotten so many listings this year, right? We've had, oh my goodness, I'm blanking. We've had so many people on. So I did want to take this opportunity to talk about what's coming up. Next Wednesday, you won't want to miss it. I think next Wednesdays is probably one of the most powerful ones we're going to do, and it's called The Promise. Mike Hicks, Sean Anderson, Stephanie Brackett, and I think it's Chris. I think there's 4 of them that are going to come on from the Anderson Hicks group in Idaho Falls, Idaho. They are going to teach you both the script and how they fulfill the promise so that you never have to cold call again, and you can literally double your business. I'm telling you guys, it is one of the most powerful things you will ever hear for your business. And to have the 2 partners, Sean Anderson and Mike Hicks on, and then I think we're having Chris and Stephanie on as well. Chris is the sales manager, and Stephanie is one of the most amazing directors of operations you've ever seen. And to have all 4 of them together talking about how that script works in all aspects of the business is going to be a really special time. Like I'm really touched and privileged that they're coming on. They are so busy. To try to get all 4 of them together is like an act of God, right? We're going to take the week after that off before Labor Day. And then after that, the week after that, I am so excited. We have our ISA panel. And for those of you who don't know what ISAs are, these guys cold call for a living. They are on their phone all day, every day. That's what they do. They do like 100 contacts a day. It's crazy. So wouldn't you want to learn scripts from those guys? I was like, look, we always hear from the team leads. We always hear from, the people that lead all these teams. I'm like, no, I want to hear from the people on the phones every day. So we've got Lance Lokins. Can you believe this? Sarah Reynolds, and I can't remember the third. Maybe Hattie can throw in the third. It's going to be amazing. Like, we're talking the top ISAs in the nation going through what's working right now. So don't miss that one. What we might do as a special treat is we might transcribe some of our favorite scripts for you. So if you're not on our mailing list already, you have to be on it. So just put your email in either chat or in Facebook Live, and we'll get you on our mailing list for sure. Fresh off the press, we're going to do 2 sessions on farming. Everybody's been asking me about farming. So we are bringing Tiffany Fikes and Kenny Klaus. Amazing. Kenny Klaus is a very famous story. Yep. He was a UPS delivery man. He knows farming. Tiffany Fikes just dominates farming, and she has a lot of really good low cost effort. She started with no money. You can't miss those. Those are going to be a little bit later in September, so I'm just teasing you. So Seychelle, before we get into what I think is a super sexy topic, data, one last plug, especially because my beautiful co-host is with me. We do these are completely free. There's no obligation. We pour into you. We send scripts, we send resources. I have one request. It's a personal request. Would you do me and Ben Kinney a favor? Would you go ahead and get on Apple Podcasts or Spotify Podcasts, wherever you listen, and search Empire Building Podcast, and would you just press subscribe? Seychelle and I and our good friends, Wendy Papazon and Sarah Reynolds, started our podcast a couple months ago, and it's been an incredible experience. One of the best, Seychelle, I don't know about you, it's been one of the best professional projects I've ever done in my life.
It's been one of the best and hardest projects I've ever done.
A lot of work. and Ben Kinney's Win, Make, Give is so good. It's like getting in Ben's brain and learning everything he knows. He's just sharing everything. And his is Win, Make, Give. It's really good. Really quick, a really specific plug and a funny story. I don't want to take too much time, Seychelle, but you'll like this story. I was coaching one of my team leaders who might be on this call, Alicia, last Friday. And, I was like, look, you really need to kind of pause and take care of yourself, right? You really need to take a moment and, and just get your health together and get some things together. Alicia's probably going to kill me for outing her. She is amazing. She wouldn't mind. And I go, I want you as your homework to listen to one of our podcasts, and I don't know when it's going to drop. So I pulled up our podcast schedule, and sure enough, this was last Friday. It dropped a few days ago. So the episode that dropped 2 days ago on Monday is our episode on self-care, which I get it. It kind of sounds like a weird topic. Self-care, like what is that? Please listen to it. Trust me when I say you need it. Everybody needs it right now, especially now. We've got kids we're preparing to homeschool. We're all working. We have a lot going on. Just take a moment, stick it on in your car on Monday's episode. You will not regret it. You really won't. All right. All the shameless self-promotion is over. Oh my goodness. What are you going to do with me on this? So Seychelle, I am so excited. I mean, it's funny, like you and I love this topic, and I just, how can we get everybody else excited about data? Right? Like it's so amazing. What got you into it? Like what originally got you tracking data and kind of getting into it?
Well, if I could tell you that by actually tracking and using data on a daily basis could make you an extra $500,000 to $1 million a year, would that interest you?
No, I'm sorry. That doesn't interest me at all. So, yeah.
Well, that's why. That is why I love it so much. It's because I think it's the fastest way to put more money in your pocket, not just for your clients, but for you too.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Did something happen? I'm trying to prompt you to tell your story. Okay. Did something? This is me not being subtle. Like,
all right. Well, we know each other well enough. You can just call it like it is. So, this is year 16 in real estate for me, and Nick, my husband, and I have been investing in real estate for 16 years. And I got into real estate and joined actually Keller Williams back in 2004, and thought I was a buyer's agent. I'd sold 36 houses my first year, sold 45 my second year, and was just like burning the candle at both ends, right? And then I became a listing agent right, like literally 30 days before our market crashed in Dallas. And I knew a lot about buyers. I knew a lot about gut. I knew a lot about how to pull numbers from a buyer standpoint, but I was like 24 and I looked like I was 16, right? So that didn't help.
You still do. You still look fantastic. You look
I'm gonna take that and run with that one. Thank you. But like when you're sitting at the listing table with a client, they want someone that is professional, knowledgeable, polished, confident, experienced, right? And there were a lot of those things that I didn't have in my arsenal yet. And Gary told us in 2008, Gary Keller had said, you guys really should start tracking some key metrics in your market. And he said, because then you can start looking at them week over week, year over year, to be able to go back and compare. And I thought, well, that's a great idea. And I filed that under like the 1,900 other great ideas I've received in meetings and at seminars and classes like this one. And our market went down and it came back up. And I said, okay, well, that was fine. I survived without tracking it. And then in 2015, we saw our market peaking, and I could feel it was peaking, but I couldn't like actually tell you statistically all of the facts that I wanted. And I was sitting at the table with a luxury client. He said, how do you know the market's peaking? I think we still have another 3 to 4 years of a run before we go down. And I said, you're right. I didn't have the, like, here is the week by week numbers of why this matters. And then I found myself like very quietly kicking myself under the table as to like why I didn't have that number. And that was on a $3.2 million listing. And I lost out on that to an agent that had that information. And I thought to myself, I'm never going to let that happen again. And so that week, we started just a simple Excel spreadsheet. And for those of you guys on the webinar today, I'm happy to share it with you so that y'all can have a copy of it. But I started just a simple spreadsheet with 5 key metrics that we've started tracking on a weekly basis. And we follow the NASDAQ weekly schedule. And,
Meaning you labeled the weeks 1 through 52.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And we've started tracking key metrics. We'll share those with you. But we started tracking those 5 years ago. And I can tell you it has won us so many clients over other agents that we're competing with, because without question, I have the absolute facts in order to be able to statistically tell you exactly where we are in the market. And I think it does wonders. And so my encouragement to you guys today would be, be like Seychelles and take the information and write it down with your 1,900 takeaways from your webinars and, Zooms and classes, and then not do anything with it for 7 years. So hopefully we'll save you guys some time and energy today and allow you to start tracking whatever data it is on a daily basis or weekly basis.
Yeah. And, I should have shared this earlier. So for all of our Wednesday webinar regulars, this is really different for me today. I have never co-presented in one of my own webinars. I'm always the one interviewing people. So today it's kind of weird. Like, I'm actually doing the content with Seychelles. My story, Seychelles, is, they're always painful stories. And I was,
right. Why do we have to learn by pain?
Always expensive, painful stories, right? But hopefully they can hear our stories, and newer agents or agents who haven't gone through this cannot go through them. But I was referred to a buyer. Now this was, oh my goodness, 15 years ago. Somewhere around there. And I was referred to, he was selling one of the penthouses of a very prominent building in downtown Seattle. Not a penthouse, an upper floor. It would have been about a $3 million listing. And he was purchasing anywhere from 2 to 4 million. And that is even big money now. Back then, if you might maybe double it. I don't even know. Like prices have gone up so much. That was a lot of money. So he was he's a prominent attorney, and he scheduled a series and he told me he was interviewing agents. And at first it was just to interview for the buyer part of it, And so I came into it as a buyer consult. So I met with him at a coffee shop in downtown Seattle, and I went through my buyer consult, and I thought it went really well. And I even showed him a house that night. I showed him an ex-Sonics house. This is how long ago it was. It was like a $5 million listing, and it was a really exciting showing for me at the time. It was just when I was getting into luxury. So I thought it went really well. I met his wife and the whole thing. And a couple days later, I got an email from him, and he said he's chosen another agent. And I was just devastated. I mean, it was one of those gut punches.
Yeah.
So I did what we all need to do, and what we all do is I said, okay, all right, thank you for letting me know. For my growth, can you share with me what made you choose another agent? And he said, it was really close. We thought you were great, but she pulled out market statistics at the beginning of our meeting, and she gave us an overview of the market and the areas that we were looking in and the price range we were looking in, how those fit in context and what we could expect. And we were just really impressed with that. And that's the kind of agent we want to work with. So when do you think Via started getting to be an expert on this sexy topic?
Right away. I can see the immediate
Yeah. I mean, it's always the painful thing. So, we all have our painful losses. So the why, it's important is because you need to come out of the gate to your buyers and sellers and your prospects, so your future buyers and sellers, as the real estate expert. You need to come out of the gate looking like a consultant and having a grasp of your market. And I have really good news for you. You could have gotten your license yesterday. You could be in class. You don't even have your license yet. This is not rocket science. We're going to give us 40 more minutes, guys, and anyone can do this, really. I promise you. But Seychelle, I did want to kind of walk through a little bit, like when we talk about why this is important, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about how they can use it. It's important because they can use it in so many things. And you and I just talked, I think the most important thing is a listing and a buyer consult. But I don't know about you. I mean, 33 touch campaigns in our emails to our database. Do you ever use stats at all?
We have a quarterly update that we send out via video.
Cool. Quarterly.
Talk about where our market is and where it's going. And then lately, like for our hottest clients, we have a weekly market update we send out, and I'll show you the screenshot of it, where I give like a paragraph synopsis, if you will, of where we are.
Yeah, that's great.
That's for our hottest clients, because if somebody's not wanting to be in the market immediately, they may not want that data on a weekly basis. But for your people that are hot and ready, they might want that data more frequently.
Yeah. Well, I love that. I love that.
Yeah, and I love your market reports to past clients too. I think those are super important.
Well, I love market reports so much. I want to marry them. I mean, out of anything that I send to my clients, you guys, anything, I happen to, I use Brivity. Our Brivity CMA has these crazy good market reports, and they're dynamic. So they automatically go out every month. And here's why I love them. It's about them, not me.
Exactly.
Like, they don't necessarily want to read about us. This is about their house, and it shows, in fact, I think I have a screen. Yes. It's about their house. That's a screenshot of it. It shows them all the green is active, yellow is pending, red is closed. And so it's always changing and updating with the IDX feed. So they could click on it mid-month and it's going to be up to date. And it's really funny because I'm obviously a real estate agent, and I set myself up on one, and I've had it up for like 3 years. It's my old house. I don't even live in that house. I check it every month, and I'm a real estate agent. I don't know why. So I love using data and market reports, Seychelle. And then we talked about listing consults, and we're not going to spend too much time on this right now because we're going to really deep dive into this in a minute. But we both use it. I think you and me both start our listing consults with it. Is that accurate for you?
Yeah, and also we do home buyer and seller Zoom webinars where we average anywhere from 20 to 80 people on a month that join us on those. They're kind of like come list me's, but from one to many, right?
Love that.
This is one of the slides that we use from that, and so I'll be happy to share with you some of those slides as well.
Well, I love that. We are going to do a Wednesday webinar on home buyer and home seller Zooms, right? But I wanted to do my own first before we did that webinar, so I had a better sense of it. And I think I'm going to do mine in September. So stay tuned on that. We'll probably do that in October. So maybe we'll have you and Sue on for that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. Okay. That was the way I asked people, by the way, in front of an audience. So they have to say yes. So we are going to go into, I use trend graphics, Seychelle. It's really cool because we both use different things, which is why I asked Seychelle to be on this, because I didn't want someone else who used trend graphics. So I use trend graphics. Most major markets have trend graphics. And by the way, it does not matter. If you do not have trend graphics or you don't have what Seychelle has, the point of this isn't that whatever tech you use to pull data is just irrelevant. You just need to, we're going to teach you how to present it and what to track. Don't worry about it. If you do have trend graphics in your market, I love it. I've used it for 15 plus years. So I suppose that's why I love it. There's probably better stuff out there, but you know how it is. You just get comfortable.
But it's just picking something and sticking with it. Like,
yeah,
it really doesn't matter what it is. It matters that you're comfortable with it and that you're using it.
100%. I agree. So this is just a really brief screenshot of what my buyer consults look like, what these pages look like. And that's either on a PowerPoint. Well, I use Google Slides, but it's either on a slide deck or it's printed out if I'm going to go with a printout. And this is, we'll talk about this in a minute, but this is individual for every person. So I do pull these for every appointment, in case you're wondering. Also social media. I mean, showing stats on social media is so good. This is going to be a news flash to all of our Ben Kinney brokerages people watching. You are about to get amazing templates delivered to you. So our Ben Kinney brokerages, our graphic design department, this is the first time we've shown it publicly. This is for all of our brokerage agents, but most brokerages have these where it's just a slide deck and you can have it run on a carousel or run on a, you know, an animated slide deck, or it can be just static images. I've done both, but it's really great, you guys, if you put this out once a month. It really makes you look good. Even if you do no other real estate stuff, if you just show the data once a month, you already look like a rock star. It's really great. They start relying on you and they see you as the source of their information.
That's right.
Do you do this, Say? Do you do social media stuff like this? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, really the point of tracking like 3-5 key metrics, whatever it is to be able to use the data for real-time marketing, right? It's to use it to advise clients and to get people to make decisions. And so, yeah, we rolled out our stats to our entire region for using them.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Oh, the audio and the video keep cutting out. Is our audio and video cutting out for anybody else? Apologize. Sorry if it is. I don't know if I can do anything about that. It might just be internet or something.
We'll try to keep it nice and clean. Sorry, guys.
Okay, sounds good. So maybe, okay, perfect. Thank you guys for chiming in there. All right. So Seychelle, I really want to start diving into this. So I want to start diving in with your sources. I know you have two primarily, right? You have the stuff that you're compiling on your own, and then you use your Matrix, don't you?
Yep, we use Matrix. So
Do you want to screen share? You want me to start this?
Let me see if I can share.
Okay.
So we have guys, this is simple. This is a Google sheet. This is nothing fancy, right? So 5 years ago when we lost that $3.2 million listing, you can see the week Seychelle lost it was in March. I got really frustrated. I was like, I'm never going to have that happen again. So there were 5 key numbers that I felt like we needed to track. We needed to track total market activity. So what is all of real estate happening here in North Texas? And I did it where I wanted to pull, we're in Dallas, Fort Worth, and we sell all over Dallas, Fort Worth. We strategically started hiring people all over the Metroplex here, 15 years ago, because so much of our business is by referrals. So it's not like I have just one itty bitty little pocket of a neighborhood to be able to search, or Kirkland is one town in itself. Like Dallas Fort Worth is very fluid. People move all over all the time. So I pull our whole metro area. Okay. So I wanted to be able to see the trends in a larger pool, so I didn't have little bitty pockets of blips in there. So I look at all total market activity, and we pull it every morning on Monday morning between 9 and 10 a.m. So the numbers are consistent, right? Pick one time and stick with it. So we have total market activity.
Wow, you do it at the same time even. That's Killer. That's
But
impressive.
really, well, and we learned, right, if you wait until 11 o'clock and all the realtors who've slept in and then put their listings status, right, it changes your data. And so even a change of 100, 200, 500 properties can skew your data from week to week. So we really work to be within an hour consistency.
God, I didn't even think about that. That's really, wow. Okay.
Well, I mean, you feel forward. You see that happen once or twice, and you're like, whoa, okay, we don't want that to happen. But so what we started tracking then was our actives, new listings on the market, and new listings on the market didn't get important to us until COVID, because COVID happened and we needed to start seeing how many sellers were willing to test the market. So much so that, check this out. So over here is like my, don't get lost in the weeds on my formulas over here. But what's really interesting is I can come in and see during COVID from March 15th to May 1st, which is when we came out of shelter in place, the number of listings that went on the market year over year were at 72% of what they were at in 2019. Then what I could see is we could then go back in and see, since shelter in place stopped and the state started opening back up, we're at 96% of what we were last year, year over year, in number of listings hitting the market. And we can go in and see every week, right, what's happening. And so what script do you think I was using when I was watching that 72% time frame? Dear Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you have a crazy unique opportunity to be one of the only houses available. And what was interesting is, if you look at contracts, that was the other number I really wanted to watch during COVID, because I wanted to see how many buyers not were just selling, because sold data, which we do track, tells us what a buyer was willing to do 30 to 45 days ago. I wanted to see what buyers were willing to do every single week, right? And so what we did was we could go in and see that buyers were willing to write at 74% of last year's numbers during shelter in place. And we were, just like Washington, we were considered non-essential in several counties here in Texas. And then check this out though, since shelter in place, we're running at 131% contracts written compared to last year since May 1st.
Okay, let's stop there. I just want to make sure everyone's crystal clear on that, because that is really brilliant. So what we know is that if we're going back in time, is that listings went down, whatever percentage you said, 70, what did they go down?
Down 72%.
72%. Pendings or contracts went up, how many?
Contracts at the lowest point, we're still running 2% ahead of listings, but now we're sitting at 131% year over year. And our listings are still only sitting at 96%.
Okay, so let's help everybody. So, Seychelle, what does that tell us? How can you describe that like I'm a 5-year-old?
Yeah. Dear Via, I have 35% more sellers than I do buyers out there in the market. So
You mean more buyers than sellers?
Yes, I have 35% more. Hi, Seychelle.
I'm 5.
Real estate. We have 35% more buyers out there than we have sellers going on the market. So if you're considering selling, I have basically, if there were 100 buyers out there looking today, right? Like basically you have 30 more buyers today than you would have the same time last year.
Exactly, with fewer choices.
Buyers today than you would have last year that can't find anything. So if you have ever considered selling your home, please, this is the time.
Okay, so for all of you other 5-year-olds out there, I'm going to even get more simple. We have more buyers, less listings. That's it. I mean, like that's all data is. It's just supply and demand. So what Seychelle was able to do, with just consistency and tracking, and you guys, our high schoolers could do this. This is not, all this is time on task on time on task on time. That's all this is. Every single one of us can find on the MLS, wherever the stats are, can find this number. Like, it's not hard. But I have good news for you. I have never, ever done this chart. I don't have this chart. And I have a feeling most of our viewers don't either. So the good news is you don't need this. As long as you can somehow show that there are either more buyers and less sellers, or the opposite. That's all you need, right?
Yeah.
To translate data. It's not, don't let anyone intimidate you. Don't think that, you have to understand, you don't have to be an economist. It's just so simple.
Yeah. And basically the goal is, right, is to be able to take the data and put it down to 1 or 2 key points. So like when we do our home buyer seminar, right, it's basically, we have more buyers, right, than sellers in the lower end, but we have more sellers than we do buyers in the higher end. So if you're considering moving up, now would be the time for you to do that. And in your buyer presentation, if you could have a slide like this in there that just says, let's talk about a buyer's market, right? More houses than buyers, and in a seller's market, you have more buyers than more buyers than there are inventory available. Where are you in the market? And so for us,
Seychelle, can I steal the screen from you so I can show you how to find that on Trend Graphics for all of you guys who have Trend Graphics? So is it pronounced Gerald or Gerald? Gerald, is that how I pronounce it? Gerald? Gerald has probably one of the best comments that I've read on a webinar. He's like, we may not need it, but I want it. How do I get it? So Gerald, here's the thing. You just start tracking it today. You just start picking the data points that you want to track, and you pull up a Google spreadsheet, and today you start tracking them, because here's the thing. Here's what you have to grasp with Seychelle's amazing numbers. This is why I had her on today. The MLS is only going to give us data. It's cumulative data. So at the end of the month, we don't know what happened on week 17.
yes.
We don't know what happened on week 19. We only know where it is at the end of the month. So the only way to get weekly data would be to freeze it in time and track it, right? And it's simple. So you just create a spreadsheet. And if you're on our mailing list, we are going to send you the template of Seychelle's spreadsheet. We've been asked many times. So we're going to send it to you. And it's probably one of the biggest gifts I've given you this whole time, right? So we're going to send the template. And in the meanwhile, though, until you have 5 years of data like Seychelle has, or 7 years or whatever it is.
We started with 1 week, right? We started with 1 week, right? So here's how to pull it. So we go under the market watch.
This is Matrix, and most of the country has Matrix on our.
Right, most of the country has Matrix. So in this little market watch section, whatever day you pick your data, I like Mondays because it's a fresh start every week. But if you go in and look under Market Watch, you can set what you want to search, right? And you can customize it to be, you can go in and customize it. I'll just show you so you can see it. You can go in and set your areas, define it, however you want to do it, and then you save it. And then when you save that for your Market Watch, let's take you back to home. You can look at a 24-hour or a 7-day search. And it just literally populates right there. And so then what we go and do is we pull these numbers and put them into our cute little spreadsheet. It's super simple.
Super easy.
Yeah.
Seychelle, let me show them really quick on Trend Graphics.
Yep, here you go.
So we can move on. Okay, so Trend Graphics, super duper quick. And Trend Graphics is available in every single major market that there is, right? So here it is on Trend Graphics. And basically on Trend Graphics, you can select your region. And we're going to talk about that in a second. That's really important. But in this case, I just chose King County. This does have a price point on here. For Seychelles stuff, you don't have to do a price point on here. You can choose whatever you want. You would press show chart. I already have it up. And then up here is when we would get our data here. Here's the cheat sheet. I want to show everybody here. A lot of people don't know this on Trend Graphics. When you click Market Highlight, that is your script, my friends. That is your script.
Awesome.
I don't care if you got your license today, or you're getting it in 2 weeks, or you've had it for 10 years. This is your script. Hey, Gerald, what I know is July 2020 is a seller's market, right? Homes for sale went up 9.8% compared to last month. Sorry, scratch that. They were 9.8 month on month, but they were down 66% from this time last year. 66%. Wow. But homes under contract went pending in King County. They were up 11%. So we were 66% down in inventory, and we were up 11%. So that is really, really a strong buyers or sellers market. That's what I know. So this is your script right here, right? Here's the other thing on Trend Graphics that's really important. And we're going to talk about this in a second, but only, my VIA rule, I mean, you can do what you want, but my VIA rule, and I think Seychelles the same way, I think we have the same rule, Seychelles, is we only talk about and show 2 data points at a time. Here's why. Let me just show you something. That chart to me makes me want to.
Nope. No.
No, I can't even. Just stop it right now. I can't.
No.
So, but this,
draw chart.
It's just too much. This is great. And here's why it's really important to me that I show, because everybody asks me, they're like, well, Via, why don't you show for sale and closed or sold? Why do you show pended? And pended's the term we use in our market for under contract for all of you. I mean, every market's a little different. So the reason I use pended is because the purpose of me talking about this data is to talk about the relationship between inventory and a sale. To me, once something goes under contract, between pending and closing, honestly, guys, that's a financial issue. It's an inspection. It's going to fall out in inspection. It's not a market-driven data point for me. Right. So whether something goes from pending to sold, and by the way, it could have a 60-day escrow, it could have a 20-day escrow. So to me, I want to know the relationship between inventory and what went under contract.
That's
because I'm either
especially in a shifting market. In a shifting market, you really need to know what buyer confidence is doing. And buyer confidence relates to contracts. It doesn't relate
100%. 100% Seychelles, you're spot on. And so what you can see here is that, and in most of our charts here in the Seattle area, and I'm sure in a lot of your areas, you can see that we're pending more than we're bringing on. It's a very, very powerful graphic. I believe, I think I've read a stat that 70% of the population is visual. And so for me, showing a 2-point data graph has always been my go-to. But there's a second graph that I show too. And that is I always go into inventory supply, always. So inventory supply, it's a little open to interpretation, but anywhere from 4 to 7 months, depending on who you are, where you are. I used to say 6 months, it's varied now. Between 4 and 7 months is a neutral market. And what that means is it's not really a buyer's market, not really a seller's market. I was always taught 6 months, but that's varying now. If it's over a 6 or 7 month supply, that's a buyer's market. I remember back in like 2009, those fun days. And I remember like showing trend graphics charts with 36 months supply. So let me just translate that to you. 36 homes could be on the market for the one sale that was going to happen in that price point in that area. I mean, that drives prices down so much I can't even tell you, because they just go from house to house making lowball offer until they pick one. So when it's under 4 months supply, that's a seller's market. When it's under a 3 month supply and a 2 month supply, that's a seller's market on steroids. That's another level seller's market that most of us have been experiencing on and off, right? So this is, I always use the default, I tend to use anyway, a 14-month chart, but sometimes this isn't dramatic enough for me. And so sometimes on trend graphics, what I'll do, Seychelles, is I'll go back and I'll go, okay, I sold your house to you 9 years ago. Right? Let's see what the market's done just as far as inventory supply since I sold your house to you 9 years ago. This one's a really fun one to do. That is dramatic.
That's cool.
That's really dramatic. That is inventory supply. So even back in 2011, we were at a 4.5 months, supply. I should have gone back a little farther, but that's a little bit more dramatic. A lot of us felt a shift last year in May. Do you see the spike up in inventory right here? A lot of us kind of felt it, certainly around here, kind of softened. The market softened a little bit in 2018, excuse me. That was May, and about May, June here, 2018. I was tracking trend graphics so much that I was like, yep, I could see it shifting. I shot my house on the market. I listed my house the first part of June, and everyone was like, wow, you're listing your house right as school's getting out. And I was like, the market's turning, because I was tracking the data so closely. And I must have pulled 3 or 4 clients on the market just with my sense of urgency.
Well, and I think that's a really important part when you and I talk about being the word consultant. Yeah. Right? Being a consultant, like I'll give you the best example of this, and I used this when you and I did a Wednesday webinar several months ago. but like when the stock market crashed in, when was that? '08, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
October of '08, June of that year, my financial advisor, his name's Ben Nguyen, gave me a call. I've known him since college. He's one of the smartest financial guys I know. And when he got into financial advising, I was like, yes, yes, I have seen you in action. I know what you can do. So he picked up the phone and he called me in June and he said, hey, Seychelle, we're seeing some funky stuff going on in the stock market right now. And it's really, it's like really frothy. And I was like, I don't know what frothy means. Like, are we talking lattes? I need coffee. What's happening?
We're always talking lattes and coffee with me.
Exactly. And I was like, what's happening? And he said, you know, frothy, like bubbly, like unpredictable. It's like popping up all these bubbles and it's really looking weird. And he said, and I know this is an unusual phone call, but I'm personally moving all of my money to cash. And I think I would not be a fiduciary to you if I moved all my money to cash and I didn't call and tell you that I was doing that. And so I'm calling to tell you I'm doing that. And you do whatever you want, but I'm telling you that. I said, well, wow. I'm watching real estate every day. You're watching the stock market for me every day. If you're moving your money to cash, then I'm moving my money to cash. And so I did. I moved my money to cash. And what happens, right? October, the stock market crashes. And did my grandfather, who lost 33% of his entire portfolio, his life savings, get called? No. Did my parents, who are with a different advisor, get called? No. What do you think my loyalty looks like to Ben?
Yeah,
right?
Amazing.
I will die with him being my financial advisor because he is taking the time to pick up the phone. And I think by showing this data via what we're doing is we're seeing the trends. We are then able to pick up the phone and be the real estate consultants that we need to be so that our clients can make the right decisions. And I can give you a half a dozen examples over the last couple of years where we have saved our clients hundreds of thousands of dollars by making decisions a little bit sooner than they might have been ready, but by making the decision and getting to get the information so they can choose, right? They're empowered to make the best decision for themselves.
Well, I love that. And I was going to share some of my my scripts and everything you just shared. That's brilliant. You know, my fiduciary with you is I need to share this. And I think what it does is it doesn't become the real estate agent's opinion. It becomes, hey, together we're going to partner and we're going to look at the data together. I'm going to share my context and what I've experienced in the real estate market with data like this. You know, it's using the data as like a neutral third party. And I always say, hey, I use a little language. I almost feel like a coach when I'm a listing agent and my scripting. And if you are working with me as a listing agent, you will hear me say things like partner. Let's work together on this. Let's look at this together. And I try to bring them into the fold, right? So that they feel part of the decision. And the way I can do that is I really act as an educator. I act as a teacher. Hey, let me teach you about the real estate market. And in fact, I mean, jumping ahead, but the script I use like in my sleep every single meeting. If you've ever met with me and you're a former buyer and seller and you're watching this, I'll say, hey, what have you heard about the market around the neighborhood, around your office or whatever? And they answer and I'll say, yeah, let's talk about what that looks like on paper. Okay. So that's anecdotal, and anecdotal means that's kind of what you're hearing. Let's actually look at the data now together and just spend a few minutes. And I promise you that few minutes is going to be worthwhile because the context of everything else we talk about right now is going to be based on this discussion. So you need to understand what the market's doing. Is it going up? Is it going down? Is our zip code outperforming or underperforming the market? What are you hearing on the news? How do we relate to that? How is your price point compared to what you're hearing? We need to understand all of that together before we can move on and we can talk about price and why we think price is what it is and marketing plan, right? And so by the time we get into price and marketing plan, it's never really about me, Seychelle, telling them a price. It's more that we're walking through this path of self-discovery together.
Yeah, I love that. And you're bringing them along with you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I do want to kind of talk a little bit about that. So real estate is hyper local, and that is a script I use all the time. What do you guys think? What does your media show you? What does your local media show you? They show you statewide data, they show you regional data, and they tend to show you more of a broad scope data, right? So it's really, really important in my mind, especially if the market's on an extreme, and it's been on an extreme seller market lately, it's really important that we talk about geography.
That's right.
So this is what I do, Seychelle, and feel free to jump in. I always go macro to micro. So what I'll say to someone, these are the exact charts. I pulled these this morning. These are the exact charts I use in a presentation. And I'll say, hey, Seychelle, thanks for sitting down and meeting with me. What have you been hearing about the market?
Well, I've been hearing that it's super hot right now. It's super hot.
Yeah.
All my friends are getting multiple offers and selling above asking price.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that. It is super hot. A lot of the times, when we hear the news and stuff, we're hearing about King County. And so let's take a look at this chart, and we'll go through this chart. But let's see. So I pulled, we have an area in King County for everyone who's not familiar. We have Seattle Metro, and then we have what we call the East Side, which is kind of a grouping of depending on 5 or 6 cities, right? Mm-hmm. So I'll go, let's see how the East Side is performing. And this is all $600,000 to $800,000 range, Seychelle. So let's see how the East Side is performing compared to the county. Looks like a fairly similar chart, with the exception of there's lower inventory on the East Side. You can see these green bars here are lower. So the green bars are active inventory, and the red line is pending sales. And what you're looking at, Seychelle, is a 14-month graph. So look at that. What do you see, Seychelle, on that red bar? It's going up, isn't it?
Going up makes me a little nervous.
And the green bar is going down, right? So so that's what we call a seller's market. There's more buyers than there are sellers. But let's actually pull your zip code. And for all of you locals, this is area 600. So Juanita Woodinville. And this is the price range, 600 to 800K. What do you think's happening here in your neighborhood, Seychelle, with your house to sell that's 700K? So Seychelle, since we're in role play right now, when we look at this chart, I want you to remember this chart, because when we talk about pricing, we need to price on an upward trend line, my friend. I have really good news for you. When I came in and I asked you on the phone how much you thought you could get for your house, you told me 675, right?
Yep.
I want to tell you, I'm going to make you very happy today. I'm going to make you very happy today. And the reason I'm going to get to make you happy today is because of this chart. It's not because of anything I do. The market is speaking loud and clear, and I think it wants to pay more for your house. Now, that can go the flip side too. That can go the flip side. I mean, that script for all of you in not sellers markets, what I would say that script for me is I'll go, okay, so I want you to pay very close attention to that chart, because what you're hearing on the media is, certain areas and certain price points. But we have a $2.5 million home that's 50 minutes outside of Seattle, where hardly any luxury homes sell. Though that tends to be, you guys, when I see a high, it's not as healthy, right? So I can say, actually we have a 14-month supply. And a hot market is defined by under a 5-month supply. So we do need to talk about a couple things. There is only going to be 0.5 sales a month in our zip code in this price point, which is really 1 sale every other month. So we really need to talk about how we're going to compete against these other 13 homes that I'm seeing in that green bar, and how we're going to be that 1 sale out of the gate. And we're going to have to talk about price. So that you can set that up both ways.
I think the other part, Marjorie asked a question too on like how do you help them to figure out what their house is worth? I use this to show if the pricing is going down, right?
Yeah.
And I say your neighbors are going to try to undercut you with their listing. So the faster you get ahead of this market, the faster you are going to sell, and the higher you are going to sell for. Because what's going to happen is you're going to list, your neighbor's going to try to undercut you, the next neighbor's going to try to undercut them. And if you don't adjust quickly, you're going to be left sitting here holding the bag as the highest listed price, because all of your neighbors are trying to undercut each other. So if you need to sell anytime soon, with this graph trending downwards, it's your job, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, to be the prettiest, most competitive house on the block. And do you like to win? I like winning. Do you like to win? Okay, well then let's win by getting ahead of the competition.
Yeah, really well said. Here's the script, guys. Here's the script either way, because yeah, I'm reading Marjorie's question too. So to Seychelles' point, to my point, what I say is what I want to enter the meeting at is I want to know, okay, is their price point and in their particular zip code? Zip codes are the most specific. Actually, I would argue you should get. You can sometimes get a little bit more specific than zip code depending on the program. The problem is you start seeing a lack of data to me. So I want enough data points to kind of have some kind of a trend. So I actually would only go as low as zip code. So the script that I use is we're either underperforming or outperforming the general market. Sometimes I'll even start with the whole MLS. Usually I'll start with county, but there's a variety of reasons that I might start with the whole MLS. So, okay, let's keep moving on. So Seychelles, I was hoping, I'm just trying to pull up, there we go. I was hoping that because time's a little limited, I was hoping that we could go in a little bit to how we actually, what our scripts are, which we kind of just went into, but how we actually use the data and interpret it for them a little bit more. I feel like we should drill down a little bit on some of these assumptions we're making and some of these interpretations. What are your thoughts on that?
Sure, I think that's great.
So, yeah, okay. Because I can't start. So here's a couple things. Actually, can I pull something up for you guys? Do you guys mind if I screen share? I want to show you an example. I want to show you something. This is really important, especially if you're using charts that are older than 14 months. Okay, I'm going to show you. Okay, this is price point 600 to 800K. Okay, look at this script. This is the east side of King County. All right, now same price point. I'm going to actually share another chart that is an area within this same area. So it's going to confuse you. It's going to confuse you, trust me. So this is within that area. Remember that red bar was going up. It was spiking up at the end. Well, that red bar is going down. So for all of you locals, this is area 560, and that was all of the east side. Here's what's important to know. When you're starting to look at price points and an area is rapidly appreciating, you're going to see a downward decline. You know why? There's hardly anything left 600, 800 anymore in this price point.
How little inventory you have.
Yes. So I've gotten hung up on that before. I've been confused before. I've actually been in front of clients and kind of like had this freeze in my head, like, oh my God, wait, I'm confused. Why is it going down? It's going down because I should have probably chosen 600 to $1 million price point, and then it would have gone up. So house sales are going up. The challenge is, it's appreciating out of the price range that you've chosen. So be really careful when you're pulling data that you're kind of aware of that appreciation. Our median price in King County is about 770. People kill me when I say this on webinars. I usually don't say it. I'm probably going to get hate mail. It's just so high. But and you're going to kill me even more when I say this. Our average price point in this chart you're looking at, our average price point is over $1 million. And so it's our median price point's over $1 million. And so you can see when I pull 600 to 800, it's going to be declining because that whole product set is declining. So that's one thing I wanted to point out, that you have to know what you're showing, right? You have to understand and be able to interpret why something will be going down and why something will be going up.
And Via, this is why you and I both feel like it's really important to only have 2 or 3 data sources that you deeply know, because if you're not studying, right, like trend graphics every day and understanding that's what you're looking at, then it's easy to get lost in the weeds.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why just 2 or 3 data points is exactly what you're trying to go with.
Yeah, do not try to learn 10 or 15 data points and try to be an economist. Just look, be me. Active, pending, inventory, supply. I have looked at 3 data points for 15 years or so. And, I don't practice it. It's just that if you go on enough appointments and you pull them for every single appointment, you just get really good at it. I've had a lot of people ask on here, if I have trend graphics, do I need to do what Seychelles does? And I have an answer, and I'll let you answer, Seychelles. And my answer is no. But I love what Seychelles does. I love having that week frozen in time. I think that it gives Seychelles a quicker access. But may I show you one thing, a little cool thing for all of you who have trend graphics? You're going to love this because a lot of people don't know this, and it's just so exciting for me. See, I get so jazzed with this. Okay, trend graphics. Let me just find it here. Let me find it. Trend graphics has daily. This started about a year ago. So this goes through yesterday. So on trend graphics, there's 2 levels of charts, and the lower chart is month to date. It's the coolest thing ever. So trend graphics does do this for us. So trend graphics is saying, look, August 1st through August 18th, 2020 versus August 1st through August 18th, 2019, and it also does month on month. It's like so amazing. It also does year to date here too. So I still would encourage you. I like what Seychelles does because I think it gives her an anchor once a week to stare at that number. I like the discipline and the habit of it, but you don't really need to do it. It's not a need to thing.
It's whatever works for you, right? When we started pulling these numbers, there weren't any other data points for us to be able to use. Can I give you with a client that you're trying to figure out how to price them, a sneaky something that we helped develop about 10 years ago that's still in existence?
Of course.
What do you use to schedule showings? Do you use Showing Time? What do you use?
Yeah, it's called Showing Time. I think it's on our matrix. It's Showing Time, right, guys? Yeah, okay. Showing Time.
So Showing Time in the last shift was tracking just like in a little data set, right? Almost like a CSV file. When you would call in, right, you have to give your MLS number, the zip code, the price point, the address, right? And they were collecting all this data, but they weren't doing anything with it. And so the company that they absorbed was called CSS. And that was what was based out of Dallas. I called those guys 12 years ago now. And I said to them, our market's shifting. And I am a new listing agent, and I don't know what the heck I'm doing, but I know you're collecting data. What are you doing with it? And they're like, we're doing nothing with it. We just keep it like in a little, database. And I said, can I hire a programmer to mine the data? I will give it back to you, but can I hire a programmer to write a little bit of code that will allow us to pull reports so I can see real-time showings of where buyers are looking? They were like, well, that's fine. I was like, I don't need to own it because that wasn't the point. I needed to know what was going on. So we gave it to them. Most of the agents don't even realize that this exists out there. So if I can share with you, Showing Time has this spot that is called Target Market Analysis. And you can go in and you can search by zip code, city, subdivision, whatever. And you can go in and see showing trends for different price points. And this is actually one where my seller was thinking of listing anywhere between $650 and $700. Where do you think I'm going to show him where he needs to go?
My mind is blown. Mind blown. Mind blown. This is in Showing Time?
Showing Time. Yep. I know. You're welcome. It's called,
okay. Literally week made, month made. Amazing.
So what's really cool about this is I have been on listing appointments before, and another agent's recommending a completely different price point. We had this happen one time where the competing agent that we were going up against was recommending a price point that literally had lots of listings and like 0 showings. And we pulled this up and we said, this is nuts. You actually need to list $30,000 higher, and here's why. And we're not blowing smoke. Look at the showing stats. And they were like, holy freaking cow.
Okay, I'm blown away.
So this literally shows you where the buyers are looking right now. And then you can come down and see total showings, percentage of showings at this price, monthly average, weekly average, and showing per listing. You can also then use this to service your listings to say, hey, guess what? The average listing is getting, 6 showings and you have 15. Our team is double or triple outperforming the market compared to everybody else, right? So
okay, that is the coolest thing ever. And so for all of you asking, and anyway, Ben Kinney Brokerages, I will check to see if that's the version we have, and we will figure out.
Via, let me show you where to go look for it too.
Yeah.
Just to give you guys some time. So, okay, if we're at home, see this little reports over here on the side? Go to reports, and it's hidden because nobody uses it. And I think it's the craziest thing I've ever heard. There's a bunch of reports in there, but the one I love the most is at the very bottom, target market analysis. And you go in and put your data right here. So I usually do zip code because I think it's the most effective, right? Then you pick your price point and your zip code and hit your dates up there and hit report. That's it. Super simple.
That right there, that's unbelievable. I literally, that's unbelievable. I'm going to pull it on all my listings right now. I love the only hole I can think, because I think like that, like I think in terms of holes, right? The only hole I could poke is the higher the price point you get here, I think the less I see listing agents using showing time. So that might become slightly less reliable as you go up in price point if that starts requiring accompanied showings, but I love that. Since our time's limited, I wanted to end with something I think is really, really important to just take note of. And it's something that actually I do for our brokerages. It's really important to me. Every month, every single MLS, major MLS in the nation, right, sends out a press release. And they send out a press release of what the data was and what the real estate update is for the month, right? Here in Washington State for the Northwest Multiple Listing Service, it's usually the 10th or the 11th of the month or somewhere around there. Sometimes it's gotten a little sooner. So I cannot urge you enough, because you need to be the expert. You need to start anticipating that when you log on to your MLS, start looking for that press release or find out where it is. Most of them send it on in the NW MLS, we call it Numels. In Numels, they post it on the front page. But anyway, please read that. Here's why. That's what the media picks up and reports on. It's really important that we know what the media is going to say. So what I do once a month, we have 8 brokerages here in Washington. What I do once a month is I do joint office meetings, and I give them their talking points for the month. I say, okay, and I always do it, I try to do it anyway in the second week of the month, because that's when they came out, and I say, okay, guys, press release is out. Here's what it's going to say. Here's how you combat it. May I give an example that I think is really important, Seychelle? My example is, what was happening is, like, right when COVID hit, like it was like month 2, they're like, real estate's tanking. It's tanking. It's horrible. It's really bad. And so I read the press release, and I'm like, okay. And so I got onto all of our market centers. I go, prepare yourself. The media is about to go everywhere and tell all of your clients that real estate's tanking, and people that were thinking about listing are probably not going to list. Right. Here's what you need to say. You need to show them the data, and you need to say, on the contrary, we're actually higher in pending sales. We are absorbing inventory at a higher rate than we've ever absorbed it before. The reason we're low on sales is because we don't have any inventory. It's a supply side problem. So real estate actually hasn't tanked. The demand is stronger than ever. What's tanked are sellers listing their homes. Right. That's what's tanked. You have to be able to interpret these monthly press releases, know that they're coming out. And what I do for our brokerages is every month I give them a slide deck presentation, and then I hand them the slide deck with all of the stats on it. A lot of it's trend graphics. Yeah. And then they can put their own logos on it. I say, hey, you guys should be doing these workshops once a month. For any of your database that wants to do it, do a Facebook Live, do a Zoom, send them to your investors, do a video. But once a month, they have slide decks. They can put their own videos on them. I really feel strongly that we just need to at least be in tune to what our clients are going to hear and not be caught off guard when the front page of the paper comes out, when that press release. It's all stemming from the MLS press releases.
That's right. I love it. And I think that's brilliant. And, if anything you take away from today is V and I are not like spending hours a day on this, right? We're looking at, what are your sources, right? Obviously trend graphics. You're looking at your MLS press releases, right? You add in their showing time reports if you can get access to those. Mm-hmm. You may have 3 pieces of data that you're looking at on a weekly basis, right? And my spreadsheet is just an MLS report. So it's not anything rocket science, right? So you look at those few key pieces of information, you'll have everything you've ever needed to go and be the real estate economist of choice for your clients, and also for your news outlets too.
Do you want another little mind-blowing bomb that you're going to love when I tell you this? This is like a little secret. I've never shared it publicly. The other thing that I talk to my clients about is know your ratios. So I'm going to give you a huge secret magic bullet, all you Seattle people. I'm about to tell you my ratios. I've never shared this publicly. Here's what you need to start doing. Track showings to offers. So this is what I know. If you live in Seattle Metro and you are listing your house, every approximately 20 showings, as long as those 20 showings are in a relatively concentrated period of time, every 20 showings, you'll see an offer. If you don't, you're overpriced. If you're on the east side, Bellevue, Kirkland, inner east side, Redmond, it's about 10 to 1. We have a lower dense area. When you go to outer lying areas like, here it might be Maple Valley, it might be Carnation, Duval, Lake Stevens, Sultan, some of those areas, the ratios can be 3 or 5 showings to 1 offer. Here's why that's really important. I prepare my clients in advance and I say, let's talk about ratios. What we know is we can expect this amount of traffic. And after we've seen anywhere from 8 to 12 showings, if we're on the east side and we don't have an offer, price is going to be the issue. What I also know is if we have 60 groups through an open house weekend, that are bona fide showings, we're probably going to have like 3 offers. I know my ratios, right? So when we talk about knowing data, start keeping track of how many bona fide showings approximately to how many written offers you get. And you will not only sound like a rock star, you'll be able to, they are asking you for a price reduction, you guys. If there needs to be any price, I call them price improvements. If there needs to be any price improvements, they'll actually ask you because you've set it up in advance.
Right, you set the tone. And I think what every client wants to know is what's the plan. And so if you can get ahead of them by letting them know what to expect and then what the plan should be, like a price improvement, they'll ask for it because they're already empowered to make the decision and the seed is planted. And so like our ratios are 7 to 1 in our inner city areas, like where I live close to downtown. And then in our suburbs, it's about 14 to 1.
Oh, it's the opposite for us. That's interesting. That's so funny. We have more showings per offers in our Seattle Metro than we do outside. And this can change too, by the way, guys. I know we're running late on time, but that can actually change. So anyway, here's what I guess I'll say in conclusion. Don't get intimidated. Dive in. Pick, if nothing else, just take actives, pendings, and solds if you want. Take those and either start tracking them yourself or find on your MLS. We have InfoSparks here in Washington, Trend Graphics, it doesn't matter. Whatever the program is, it doesn't matter what it is. Just start consistently tracking the same things. I love inventory supply. Be sure you know how to explain it. Be sure you start understanding it, and it'll become addicting. And then once a month, don't forget to check your MLS, see what they're sending out to the media. Be sure that you have talking points behind it and that you can sound like you know what you're talking about. Frankly, I think you should be the media. I think you should be the one taking that press release every month, and you should be disseminating that information. You can do it on your 33 touch emails. You can do videos. You can do social media graphics. You can do market reports, whatever. Once again, you guys have been amazing. I love your interaction, love your questions. As a special treat, we are going to share a Seychelles template. I know a lot of you guys have asked. Stick with us on our mailing list and you will get a ton of presents. We do these because we want to give back to the agents, right? We'll never charge for these. They are free. They are for you. In return, we ask, win, make, give, an empire building podcast. Please support us, guys. Have a great week, and we will see you next week with the Anderson Hicks Group and The Promise.
You're awesome.
Thanks, Seychelles.